So y'all come hang out with me for a little bit while I create this gorgeous custom resin butterfly for one of my collectors. Now her colors were gold, black, and white, so I mixed up about 200 milligrams of super clear tabletop epoxy resin. And for the colors I used Mars black acrylic paint, titanium white acrylic paint, a gold metallic acrylic paint, and I also used gold metallic alcohol ink. So for the color spread, I'm thinking black at the bottom. I'm gonna use the gold in the middle and then kind of fan out with the white at the back of the wing, and then at the top I'm gonna do a little switcheroo and I'm gonna do the white at the beginning. I'm gonna keep the gold in the middle and then fan out with the black at the back of the wing, and I'm gonna do that on both sides of the mold. Now the mold itself is a fairly nice size. I'll put the actual dimensions in the caption, but it's pretty deep, and this side here isn't that bad. It has a lot of space, so it was much easier to pour in, but this side right here is not for the weak, and it tested every bit of my skills. Now, this side is very intricate. It has flowers, it has leaves, it got little stems, it got some stuff going on in between that I couldn't really decipher at the time. It's just a lot going on. It's very intricate, very beautiful, but also quite tedious. So make sure you take your time. I mean, take your time. Also, I would suggest that you pour in smaller settings. I kind of wish I wouldn't have poured so much resin at once. I didn't really know how long this side was going to take. I guess I kind of thought I was just going to really kind of pour through it, but nah, baby, it wasn't like that. This side here kicked my tail. It took me about 30 minutes to pour this side. So towards the end of it, some of my resin did begin to flash cure, and it made it quite sticky and harder for me to control. And so I end up pouring a little bit more just so I can get things to flow, because when the resin gets tacky and sticky like that, it kind of flows differently. So I wanted to make sure everything got all the way to the bottom of the mold. As I mentioned before, this mold is quite deep. The lines are super thin, but it's very deep. So I also took a small toothpick, just a regular toothpick, and kind of ran through the lines as you see there, just to make sure all the resin got all the way to the bottom of the mold. I would hate to demold it and then there's like these little holes and things all through it, because although that can be fixed, don't nobody got time for that. I don't want to do all of that. So I'm going back through the mold again, just pouring over those spaces. I didn't pour a whole lot like the first time. I just wanted to kind of get through to the mold. So I'm going back over all the lines. Another thing, before you use the mold, kind of take your time to map it out, because as I said, it's very intricate on this side, so you can kind of get lost in it a little bit. I don't know, at least I did. My eyes began to play tricks on me. Some of y'all might look at it and see everything very clearly. However, for me, that was not the case. So as I began to pour it, I kind of saw like, oh, that was a part of the flower too. First time pouring it, you know, trial and error, trust the process, all of that good stuff. But anyways, we got it done. And yes, we did. Now, as the resin is settling, I am noticing some like air pockets pop up on the stencil side of it. Not air bubbles, but whole pockets is popping up, which is an indication that the resin has not reached the bottom in that spot. There's not enough resin there. There's a gap. So I'm going to continue to go over it just to fill everything in and make sure that everything is where it is supposed to be, because I don't want to demold it and have a bunch of like pocket holes in it, because nobody has time to clean all of that up. I don't, and I know y'all don't want to. So once again, take your time. And that's something y'all gonna hear me say a lot because I feel like that is very important when doing resin art, any kind of art really, but you know, take your time, especially if you're selling your pieces. If you want your pieces to come out right, take your time. So now it is time to demold her, and I am super excited because I cannot wait to see what she is gonna look like. But it looked like I'm gonna have to wait a minute for that because with all these cracks, creases, crevices, and grooves, this thing is fighting me. We tussling right now. It's trying to give me a hard time. So I'm gonna have to break it down at the edges, at the seams, flip this thing over, and show it who's boss. That's what I'm gonna have to do. But she came out pretty though. She came out real pretty. I am in love. Look at her. That's how she turned out. So now it is time to add all the bells and the whistles, starting with this top coat. And I will say it over and over again. I don't care how big or how small the project. If you're doing resin, put a top coat on there. Stop taking these pieces out ashy and just leaving them like that. This adds the chef's kiss to your piece. It just adds the vibrance, the shine. It just kind of brings it back to life. You know what I'm saying? So I demolded it in about 8 hours or so because just in case I had to any sides that were hard I needed to take off or anything, it's a little bit easier to do when the resin is softer. So if you have any overpouring and then you gotta like have rough edges after you finished, I would rather pick them off than have to sand them down. Now, for this side, I'm not even gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous. I feel like I'm top coating some varicose veins or something. I'm just nervous. But I did learn my lesson from pouring it, and so this time I only mixed up a little bit of resin at a time. I think I mixed up about 10 milligrams of resin, and I did that 3 times. And putting this top coat on this side was even more tedious than pouring it because I definitely don't want like any spilling over the sides. I just want a nice, beautiful top dome coat. And as I said, with this piece having so many moving parts, it's easy to kind of like overlook something, but we're not trying to make that happen. So I waited about 3, maybe 4 hours in. The resin right now is kind of tacky, so I'm putting in my beads and my stones. And if I'm not adding any beads, some stones, some something, I am just not being myself, and I did not put me into this piece. Okay, if I'm not taking things just a little bit too far, this is definitely not a Be Divine by Design piece. You know, these stones just kind of class it up a little bit. Just adds a little vibrance to it. You know, that little extraness that custom art needs. You know what I'm saying? That's what they did. Now, I didn't add a whole lot of beads on the bigger side. It didn't really need it. It was beautiful all in itself, but on this intricate side, it was just so many cute little places for me to put the beads that I just could not resist. And these match perfectly, not only with the butterfly but with her aesthetic. She did send me a picture of like the space where the butterfly is going to be, and these beads matches her curtains perfectly. Like, I'm so excited. I cannot wait till she sends me a picture of what it looks like. So yes, I am just taking my time. Once again, I waited until the resin got a little tacky. I didn't want it too thin to where when I put the beads on, it would spill over. I didn't want it to be too hard. I wanted the beads to be able to steal the resin to kind of like grab the bead. You know what I mean? Because once it's stuck in this resin, I'm not worried about it going anywhere. You hear me? Nowhere. Now, the piece was already beautiful within itself, but these beads just really took it up a notch. It really just kind of classed it up a bit. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to be extra with your work. That is the wonderful thing about art. It can be anything and everything that you want it to be. Look how pretty she is. Look. I am so pleased with this piece and I cannot wait to do another one. Now, is it going to be for you? I don't know. But I'm sure going to make me one. I mean, it's a must. I have to. So now I'm just looking over the piece, going over everything, making sure again that nothing is spilling over on the sides. I'm double checking, I'm triple checking, I'm all that checking because we want to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be and nothing is where it ain't supposed to be. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Now look at her. Look at how pretty she came out. Look at how vibrant those colors are. When she told me that her colors were gold, black, and white, I automatically thought like classy, sexy, elegant, loud, but quiet at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Just beautiful. So listen, thank y'all for joining me in creating this beautiful piece. And until next time, stay creative, my friend.